I've hit record. Oh, it's amazing. I can still remember how to do this.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me make sure it's recording in the browser as our tertiary.
Do you remember when we used to still have a producer? Fun times. Fun times. You know what? As much as I would say that we didn't have a lot of talking points, we had some, you know?
Anyway, hi, Dan. How are you? Are you well?
Hello, Phil. I am well, thank you. I am back at it. Feeling ready for a new challenge.
How was Bangkok?
I was not. People keep asking, okay, listen, Zimbabweans, I need you to expand your horizons. Not every Asian country is Thailand. You are literally, and I'm not exaggerating, we've now entered into double digits of people who are asking me how was Thailand.
I was actually doing it to be stupid. People
I know.
People are genuinely
but genuinely, people keep saying how was Thailand? And I say, no, actually I was in Bali. And they're like, oh, isn't that in Thailand? I understand. Asia isn't generally let me put it this way. There aren't a lot of packages from Zim to Asia. We've got Zim to South Africa. We've got Zim Dubai, Zim China. We've even got Zim Europe and not so much Asia. But there is one to Thailand. So I can understand. So I'm not mad. But it's just surprising me that, people genuinely feel like...
That's actually hilarious. I said that to be funny.
Anyway, hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? I know you've missed us. You may blame me for our radio silence. I had taken a much-needed vacation.
It's not just that. I actually had planned to do some recordings, and then just conspired against us, as we discussed. And then my co-host had to fly in and out, so it was a bit tricky. And the days he was available, but we'll still be able to get him on the show. He's very keen, so we'll have some shows with him in the coming weeks.
Dope. Are you talking about Tinto?
Dan, I was trying to keep it a surprise. That's why I didn't mention a name. So I don't, what's wrong with you?
Phil, you see, you know about showbiz. What is the better promo? Surprise or actual promo?
It's the surprise. Dude, you make it sound like this is some sort of network TV show. The people that listen to this show choose to listen to the show. They're going to tune in anyway. They're going to see the name on the show title. And, I want to listen to that episode.
So it won't be a surprise. Anyway, it's fine. Let's start the show. We're not doing that AI intro anymore.
Yeah, we're done with that. We're not playing any music at all. Yeah, guys. I think we're a little PSA, a little public service announcement. If you listen on Spotify, you may have noticed that some of your favorite episodes or just episodes you listened to last week are disappearing. That is not a glitch. That is a feature. Spotify is clamping down really hard on podcasts that play music. You might even notice that a certain podcast called Six Foot Weights was somewhat absent from the Spotify streets for quite some time. Are they even back yet? I don't know.
They are bad. They had to create a new feed, Shame.
So the reason why they had to create a new feed is because of these takedowns. So I have a few relationships and a little bit of clout. So at least they message to say, hey, buddy, you might want to remove that. I always pick the option of just take the episode down because I'm not going to re-edit the podcast. It's terrible.
Naifil, is your clout not enough for you to get us the Joe Budden treatment? To get us the
Dan, let's be honest with each other. Yeah, let's be realistic. Joe Budden makes Spotify money. We do not make Spotify money.
Yeah, we do. We contribute to Spotify's bottom line. We've got at least a few thousand listeners on Spotify, as I was shown, by the way, by a certain manager who maybe she doesn't want to be revealed.
You have access to the dashboard, Dan. You see the numbers.
No. I don't have access to the dashboard.
No, you did. I set it up for you.
No, you didn't, Phil. Remember, I don't have access because either because when you set it up, you were in SA or something. But remember, the Zim couldn't access it. Do you remember?
There's so many glitches.
So I've never seen the numbers. So I didn't know if we had big numbers on Spotify.
Let me see.
So she was the one like, how many listeners do you have on Spotify? I was like, I'll be honest with you, I don't know. And she's like, hey, let me check for you. And it's like, oh snap, okay, you guys are doing all right. So we are contributing to Spotify's bottom line.
Yeah, but also I think my main connect might have been let go of because I emailed them a few months back and it's been crickets. So I don't know.
Anyway, how do we do this podcast? Anyway, look, sorry. Let's do this. Let's actually get the energy up, Phil. Let's get into it the way we normally do it.
Philip, are you good to go? And I'll be like, yes, Dan, I am indeed good to go. How are you, good sir? And then you're like, yay. And then there's no more jumping. Oh, snap. We're doing really well on Spotify. Ooh. Damn, Dan, we're now in 6 figures in a month.
See what I'm saying? We're doing all right on Spotify. We have some clout. I don't understand. So, okay, a little bit of behind the scenes info, right? Our dashboards and analytics show us great numbers, right? We think we have some good listenership on this podcast. However, when I convert that to Patreon subscribers,
no, actually, keep in mind, we actually need to move people off Patreon to maybe the website or something. But yeah, we'll discuss that.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all. But yeah, it's like, surely I understand maybe you're looking at 2%, maybe you're looking at 3%. If we're doing really well, maybe we can push it up to 5% of subscribers who have converted to paid subscriptions. But it feels like we're on 0.0 something. Guys, come on, we can do better. We can do better. That WhatsApp group is thriving. Come through, guys. If you've been waiting for your sign, this is your sign. I know you might be thinking these guys haven't even been around the last 3 weeks. I know. I apologize. 2 weeks, right? 3 weeks? 2 weeks. Sorry about that. We back. Even if I wanted to take another vacation, I can't afford it right now. So you are going to be stuck with us for a nice extended period of time. So yeah. This is what we're going to do now. We're going to start it properly. We're going to have the energy right. We're going to do our Africans doing it big. And then I've got some things to talk to you about, Phil. I want to tell you about my vacation. And there's some things that were popping off in our Patreon group that I would love to talk about. Zim stories, SA stories, and America stories. It's going to be an exciting show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I have to ask all of you, are you
good to go? Sound a big thing, them. Get mad now.
Let me hear a drum play.
Hey.
Like we didn't miss a step at all.
Look, my lungs are not okay. I got a very rare, maybe, infection in Asia.
Wait, are you serious?
My name's Danny that guy, aka Dados the Mad Titan, aka Denford Wekumarine, aka Denimbi, my life here entertainment. Okay, I'm done with these streets. Oh, may I never get divorced and move from a Range Rover to a Yaris like Rachel. AKA Hakuna Moment Itan Move. I'm partly serious, Phil.
That's right. I don't know. I mistake him for irrefutable. The little Chandra Bowl. A little chilly. I got a gas heater right by my side right now, Dan. I don't know if you can see it on the camera there.
Oh, nice.
Phil Chada gave Flynn Floss the big boss, baby gave it's a peak. It's six Lovu. AKA, I just broke up with my orange boyfriend, Muska. AKA Filthy Phil. And of course, Shaman Tengero drink. What it do? What it is?
AKA, can we get Elon Musk on the feeling station ASAP, real quick?
Musk didn't like his boyfriend's BBL, and he was like, "No, this BBL is horrendous."
It can be a bumper episode of the feeling station featuring Elon Musk, DDG, and Offset. All three on the show. Okay, we'll get to that, but let's start off by celebrating some Africans. I'm going to focus on some Zimbabweans. A lot of stuff happened in my absence. Pardon me, I don't have everything at my fingertips, but I'll share with you the little that I do have. First of all, I would like to congratulate the two Zimbabweans who had, from what I hear, great sets at the MTN Bushfire Festival that happened last weekend. 2 weekends ago?
Last weekend.
Sometime in the last weekend, right?
Yeah.
That's Feli Nandi, who was on the Bushfire stage, as well as Charisse. Our very own Charisse. Charisse. Who you can scroll up to listen to her episode.
Oh no, dude, how come we haven't interviewed Feli Nandi yet? We should get on.
We should actually. I was speaking to a manager today actually. Yeah, so just throw it in the hey, by the way. And do you know what? I have a lot of respect for Feli Nandi. That's what I can say. I have a lot of respect for Feli Nandi.
Is it because of a Pakistani man that put us into a precarious predicament?
Partly because of that, but also she's great, professional. Her team is dope. She's a great artist. Shout out Feli Nandi. Mad love for Feli Nandi. She was recently on Gemma's podcast, Phil. I don't know if you saw that. So it's kind of sad that she went there before coming here, but it's okay. It's fine.
Well, did we invite her? That's the main thing.
Also, it's sad on our part, not on her part. Sad on our part. But yeah, so congratulations to Feli Nandi and to Charisse C, who graced the stage at MTN Bushfire.
Yeah. Dope.
Also want to give a couple of shout outs to, give a shout out to Chido Mchemwa, who has been shortlisted for the 2025 Trillium Book Award. She's based in Canada. Dr. Chido Mchemwa for her book, Who Will Bury You? And Other Stories, a collection of intimate stories about Zimbabweans in moments of transition. Congratulations to you, Chido Mchemwa, for that Trillium Book Award nomination. It's an annual literary award presented to writers in Canada. It's in its 38th year, and it comes with a cash prize of $20,000. But it's Canadian, so.
Actually, I think the Canadian dollar is stronger than the US dollar. So
yeah, but it's Canadian dollar. Okay, there's a gag that I've never been able to forget from The Simpsons, where Homer Simpson is desperate for money and he's looking anywhere. And in his desperation, he's like, what if I look in this, those dumpsters? Like, I'm going to look at this dumpster. Maybe I can find some spare change or something. And he finds exactly how much he needs. But he's like, but it's Canadian. And then he throws it away. And that's just always stuck with me. Anyway, congratulations. Congratulations, Dr. Chido Mchemwa and everyone else. Congratulations to a whole lot of people who did like cool things and stuff. I would have mentioned there was the EU Film Festival. There were several awards that were given to locally made films and stuff like that, but I haven't done the research there, so I'll just leave that at that. Okay. We can't really follow up from last week's episode because, we didn't have an episode, but I think, Phil, I would like to tell you about why I made a reference to Rachel Kolisi at the beginning of the episode.
Getting straight into it. No African. Is that the African doing it big? Sia Kolisi is the African doing it big.
No, I've already done Africans doing it big, Phil. We're now following up from last week. Okay, here's the story. I had briefly mentioned it to Phil, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" So I was like, "Okay, perfect. I'll mention it on the podcast." So Sia Kolisi, Springboks captain, very famous rugby player, obviously very well off, and his very public relationship with Rachel. It was public because don't you dare ever flirt with that man online because his wife is coming for you. Rachel will be in them comments. Sorry, you man crush Monday. Who? That's my husband, ma'am. Anyway, they've unfortunately had a very public divorce. And Sia and Rachel are no longer together. Look, happens to many people, especially people in the public eye. That's not so noteworthy. What is noteworthy is Rachel, after her divorce, has decided to showcase, how life has changed since divorce. So I think it was 2 weeks ago, she posted a story to her Instagram.
Why would she do this to herself?
I think she was driving a Land Rover maybe, or she was driving a Merc. I can't remember, like some luxury car. And then she posted a story of her behind the wheel saying, last day driving this, something like that. So, people were like, what do you mean last day? Like, what's that about? Anyway, the next day, she posted a story of herself standing next to a humble Toyota Yaris. Now, I would like to go on record as saying that a Toyota Yaris is a great car. It's very reliable. It's my wife's former car that she had when she was back in Cape Town.
If you had a Yaris, I won't refuse. A Yaris, wonderful car.
Absolutely sturdy. I would prefer a Yaris to an Aqua. However, Rachel then posts to her Instagram standing next to her Yaris, by the way, since then deleted from her page.
I wonder why.
She wrote in the caption, life has a funny way of humbling you just when you think you've got it all figured out. One day you're riding high, the next you're asking a friend to borrow their spare car and Googling how to parallel park a Yaris with dignity. It's not forever. It's just a chapter. Honestly,
no.
Betsy and I are kind of vibe.
Dan, give me all the context. I'm sure you're skipping context. You're cherry picking. You're cherry picking the facts. You're cherry picking. This is a setup. I can smell it. This is a setup. You're setting me up.
That's the whole story. So
no. You're setting me up.
I had not been following this story. I knew somewhere in the corners and peripheries of my mind that Sia and Rachel had a divorce and they got back together and then they got divorced again. I knew that some weird was happening. I didn't really know the details. But when I opened my timeline sometime when I was in Asia on holiday, I was like, I wonder what everyone's getting up to. I saw the whole timeline was a buzz about this post, and I didn't understand because people were saying, hey, if I was Rachel's friend, I never would have accepted that. That's not cool. How can Rachel do that? I was like, what are those people talking about? So I went to her Instagram post and I saw it. I saw her Instagram post and I was like, oh snap, she really did post this. And that's crazy. Imagine Phil, let's just say things go exceedingly well for me, right? Mm-hmm. In life. Mm-hmm. And I'm now in that range. I'm now in that G-Wag. Mm. Then things go terribly. And I'm now in debt. And I give you a call. And I'm like, hey, yo, bruh.
No.
I'm struggling.
No.
You got a spare car lying around that you're not using that I can use in the meantime?
I got a scooter. How about that?
And you're like, you know what? My little sister had a Toyota Yaris that was in the garage that she's not using right now because she's out of the country. You could use that in the meantime. And I'm like, yo, I appreciate that, Phil. Thank you so much. You really doing me a solid here because I didn't have nothing to move around. Mm-hmm. So I come and I collect the car, and then the next thing you open my Instagram and this is me saying, yo, life humbles you, bruh. From riding high to getting in this humble car over here. That ain't right, yo. But you know, it's just a season. I'll get back up.
It's about to humble you again. Give me my car back.
I would be like, I mean, I get it, I get it. Life has changed, but you borrowed someone that just feels, unless they're close like that, or unless maybe they're both at the same level. So I don't know. But to me, that seemed weird. Anyway, so that was the reference that I made in the opening. I thought it was hilarious. Anyway, also, listen, guys, divorces happen. This is a funny thing that happened. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. You guys have built a whole understanding of her persona based on this post. It's just funny to see. So, yeah, that was what I was referencing.
Do you think? Let's just say, like, let's assume best case scenario, right? Let's not attribute the worst. Let's say she's trying to like do some sort of 5D chess Machiavellian manipulation tactic where she like softly, humbly embarrasses Sia to the point where she's like, okay, fine. Yeah, you can't have a Yaris. Let me get you, I don't know, a Touareg or something, but you're not getting a range. You know what I mean? Is that the plan?
It's just, I wouldn't phrase it. It's a little blunt. I wouldn't phrase it as 5D chess Machiavellian. It's more like soft manipulation. That's obviously what's happening, but it could. Another thing that it could also be is just a soft launch that when you see me in this car, don't be surprised. I don't want to be sitting here answering questions at the country club or whatever.
There's a better way to do it. Just say, guys. Also, on the flip side,
better just say nothing.
She still drives his children around. Yes,
I assume. Like I said, Phil, I haven't paid that much attention. It was just this post that I found mildly funny.
At a certain point, you also have to ask Sia, like, why are you letting the mother of your children drive around in a Matchbox?
Phil. In a messy divorce, there's a certain level of, on her end, she's probably thinking, I don't care because there's no way you'd let me drive around without a car.
Yes, but also, okay, I'm not going to get into it, but we know why they divorced, right?
Yes.
So,
well, theoretically.
Not theoretically. We know why.
Fine.
It's one of two reasons.
Yeah.
And of those two reasons, I don't think his fault. I don't think Rachel was the instigator in either of those reasons. Of course. One, she's an innocent bystander. The other one, she was pissed off. Right?
Okay. Here's let's play out the conversation. How could you, Sia? I've been by your side. I've been holding you down. I've been raising these kids. I've been running your household.
She's talking a little too black for my liking. She's sounding very black right now.
How dare you? Yeah. That ain't right.
Dan,
how dare you treat me like that? You had your tongue all up.
You spent 2 weeks in Asia and you forget how to do a white woman's voice. What the hell's going on?
I saw more white women than Asian. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so this is the conversation, right? How could you, Sia? Cece, how could you do this to me? How could you do this to your family? Sorry, Rachel, you know how it is. The pressures, you know the pressures. I can't take this anymore. I can't. You're not going anywhere. I know you won't go anywhere. I'm your livelihood. You think I care? You think I care about this car? You think I care about this nice dress that I'm wearing? You think I care about these? Y'all don't care about none of it. Of course you care. Of course you care. You are the one who spends my card all the time. No, I don't care. I'm going to show you that I don't care. I don't care. Take your stupid car here, your keys. You're not serious. You'll be back. I won't be back. I've now mixed up the accents. The point is, in a messy breakup, people will make assumptions that obviously I can't let the mother of my child drive or not have a car. And then the assumption, you know what I'm saying? But
you know, the wild thing is like the accent started off bad. Then you slowly started drifting towards the right lane. And just as you hit pay dirt, you went all the way. Like you skid off the road.
Anyway, look, I don't see what the problem is. She's got how many? 600,000 followers on her Instagram. You can make some good money there.
That's like 1,000 rand. Dude, Dan, I don't know if you know, there's a recession globally right now. Things are bleak for everyone.
I haven't noticed, Phil. I was gallivanting through Bali. I ain't noticed no recession.
Welcome back to Zim. Welcome back to Zim. Enjoy.
First of all, before I tell you about my trip, I want to tell you, and I think this is a common feeling. You know, at OR Tambo Airport.
OR Tambo.
There's that side where you go down the stairs or down the escalator, and then you reach the side where all the Zim flights are.
And some Qatar, for some reason, Qatar Airways is also there. But yes, I know the gate 90, A19 to 24. I know those ones very well.
I don't know how it's happened, but you know how sometimes you feel like sometimes you just need to get out of Zim, breathe some air that's not from Zim, and then come back. You know, you just a little bit of a reset. You know what I'm saying? That area has Zim air. Just that you can actually feel the difference when you walk up the stairs. Like, oh,
you are rude.
Joburg, SA. And you go down the stairs, you're like, this feels Zimish. It's very Zimish. Anyway, Phil and listeners, I actually had promised to update our listeners via our Patreon group about the trip. I apologize, I couldn't do that. I was very busy creating content for my wife. If you follow her on Instagram, you would have seen the trip. We had a great trip. We went to Bali. We started off in Ubud. Ubud is like the cultural hub of Bali. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Bali is part of Indonesia. Indonesia is a series of islands that make up one country. And Bali, of course, is the most famous part of Indonesia. Anyway, Ubud is like in the center of Bali. So it's jungles, temples, culture.
Have you become one of those annoying people that
yoga,
that pronounces the country name like the way they say it in the local dialect? Because you keep saying Bali, sort of like Bali. It's Bali. Is that how they pronounce it locally?
Bali.
Oh wow, you have become one of those people. God damn it.
Anyway, Ubud was amazing. We went to go tour some temples, experience the culture. We had a great time. We even stayed in our own private villa. It was great. From Ubud, we went to Seminyak. Now, Seminyak is a lot more touristy. That's typically what people think of when they think of Bali. It's a beach town. It is chock-a-block full of digital nomads.
Did you go on the swing?
I did go on the swing, yes.
I
did.
See, I know things, you see.
Yeah, we went on. So the swing, there's a lot of swings in Bali. Can I just say, that country has optimized for Instagram. It feels like they've built their country around Instagram. It's insane. I can't even explain it. You kind of have to experience, you have to see it to be there. There's a lot of places that are beautiful in the world that I've seen. Cape Town is beautiful, but the way Bali is optimized for Instagram, it's not about the experience, it's not about you being there. Of course, there's exceptions to that rule, but in general, it's not about what happens while you're there. It's about, can you get the right picture or video?
Mm-hmm.
And there's long queues to get the right picture. Anyway, we managed. We got ourselves a local guide, and he made sure that we went to all the lesser known places, not where there's all these queues and the right time to go places. He was amazing. Shout out Wayan, actually. Man, that dude was amazing. Anyway, Seminyak was chock-a-block with digital nomads, mostly Americans who work remotely, and they could choose anywhere in the world they want to be in. So they chose Bali. It's completely changed, at least that's what many of the locals say, completely changed. It's insane. It's crazy. Anyway.
So many words, so verbose, so descriptive.
Yeah. The short-term rentals and hotels and all of that is expensive. All the facilities like food and restaurants and entertainment, whatever, has been optimized for all these American and European tourists, and weirdly enough, a ton of Russians and Indians, but those were tourists. The ones who are like now living there for like a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever it is as digital nomads, it's mostly Americans. Crazy. And crazy traffic, just packed. Our guide was telling us, this is what he was saying. Because I was asking him, like, what's the crime situation here? So he was like, there's some places you got to be careful of pickpockets and stuff as per expected. And I was like, okay, what about like in Seminyak where we're heading? He's like, yeah, there's like drugs and murder and robbery and stuff. That's stuff that never used to happen. That's like not a thing in Indonesia or Bali or anything like that. And finally, in our trip in Bali, we ended up in Uluwatu. Uluwatu is a little bit lesser known, but it's got the most beautiful beaches. The area of Uluwatu is probably best known from its the role of the beach, the Padang Padang beach in Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know if have you watched Eat, Pray, Love, Phil?
Sadly, that has fallen through the cracks of my cinephile habits, but maybe after this.
Those of you listeners who have watched Eat, Pray, Love, I have not. But apparently the beach that is heavily featured in that movie is Padang Padang Beach, which we are able to see. We also found this amazing, like super hidden that beach that you had to hike like down a mountain and whatever to get to, and was called Nungalan Beach. Incredible.
Some of these names, they sound like you're making them up, bro.
I am not. We shot a recap video for my wife's Instagram. So all these things are still fresh in my mind. Recall is right there. But yeah, look, basically had an amazing time. Thank you so much for your patience with us, guys. But it was a vacation and so, I have a problem, Phil. I'm listen, we flew all this way. We have to do everything kind of a guy. That in itself is not the problem. The problem is obviously everything costs money. So yeah, so it's been an expensive holiday. It was great, but it's gonna be rough for a little bit before we get back. But no regrets. Absolutely worth it. We did everything. We stayed in great places. We ate at great places. We went to go see amazing things. Highly recommend. But I can also if anyone is planning on going to Bali, I can see very easily why some people might go there and say, I actually didn't have a great time. The solution is have a local guide, do an itinerary. It's a great time. And ChatGPT helped me with, actually I use Google Gemini with the itinerary. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Granted, the prompt was extra. I was talking about, listen, we got 10 days. This is the personality of myself. This is my wife's personality. These are the kind of things that we're looking for. We don't want to go to we want to see all the amazing things, obviously, but we don't want to do too much over touristy stuff because we don't want to just be crowded out in places for no reason. And it created the most amazing itinerary. I'm very impressed. Extremely impressed, actually.
Nice.
So yeah, I would recommend y'all to. Anyway, that's where I was. I had a great time and I feel energized. I'm back. I'm tired. I got the very famous Bali Belly. Have you heard of Bali Belly, Phil?
Is it like Delhi Belly but the opposite?
Yes, not the opposite. It times 10 probably.
Oh, so it's Delhi Belly pretty much.
Yes.
Just
Bali apparently has bad water.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to any of the beach clubs, they tell you that you must never put your face under the water. If you go to any restaurant, you have to make sure that it's like a proper restaurant. If you go to some of these shady restaurants or eat street food, that's why there's so little street food in Bali. Because apparently you get this traveler's diarrhea or Bali belly and it hits hard. Fast, very fast. Very fast and then very hard. It also accelerated the comfort levels between me and my wife because after that, babes, there's no...
Wait, haven't you guys lived together for 2 years? 3 years?
We have, Phil, but it takes a long time to, you get comfortable with a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. That was an accelerant. There it was like, look, I don't think we can go further.
In more ways than one, huh?
We've seen each other at our worst.
And did you shoot yourself? What's going on? Did you shoot yourself?
Phil, Bali belly is rough. It's simultaneous ejection. Simultaneous. It's loud, explosive, rough. And I'm not joking when I say it's a top and bottom are happening at the same time, at the same speed.
So safe to say you've lost some weight after this trip.
Look, I did lose some weight, but like I said, it hits very fast. By the next day, I was already feeling better. And like by day 2, it was like done.
So how did that affect the itinerary? That was like day 3.
Yeah, I know. The one day was it was a write-off. The one day was a write-off.
Very tender after that. A little tender.
It was bad, Phil. I won't lie.
Man was making salt and sugar solution.
And I knew, you know what? I read all the reviews. They were like, listen, if you get a drink, don't get ice unless it has holes in it, because then it was made from purified water, So, it's made the specific way they make it. That's how you know it's safe ice. I was vigilant. They were like, listen, don't get food unless it's from, proper establishments, because apparently the government has made like a big deal about it. So they've banned a lot of things, and that's why it's apparently improved things. But I knew because the one day we went to Nusa Penida. Highlight of the trip, by the way. Nusa Penida is this little island off the coast of Bali, and you go there. We went snorkeling. We went to go see like the most Instagram spot in the world. It literally holds the title of the most Instagram spot in the world. And as expected, there was literally 1,000 people queued up to go take a photo. But we had a guy. So we literally just went, took our photos and moved on.
When you say you had a guy, or is it corruption? Like he jumped the queue?
No. We had a local guide. So that local guide was like, okay, this is where I'm going to take you. I'm going to take you snorkeling, and then we'll go over here, and then we'll go over here. And then do you want to go take photos of this thing? There's going to be a lot of people there. And we're like, I mean, if there's going to be a lot of people, it's like, don't worry. He's got tour guides. There's like a local mafia of tour guides. So he's like, my people are there. So don't worry. We'll go there. We'll take the photos. We dip. I was like, all right, if you tell us we dip, we dip. And Reshua, we walked. First of all, it's extreme. Imagine like a sheer cliff face that drops down like 400 meters or something. Mm-hmm. And there's a queue of thousands of people sort of jostling and pushing it. I was like, there's no rails, there's no wall, it's just rough steps that are carved into this mountainside. And there's a queue of influencers. Ton of Chinese and Russian influencers, by the way, who were just queued up. And I'm sure 100,000 followers, I don't know, all these people that are queued up to take photos at this spot. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I Googled it there because I was like, there's no way people don't die here. And they're like, yeah, on average, 5 people a month die on this island.
5 people a month?
A month, bruh. I was like, yo, what the hell? Someone should do something. Anyway, so some of them die by falling, but the most common one is they go swimming out a bit too far in the ocean. Anyway, so we walk past all these grumpy looking people who are wondering why are we walking past. And he walks us right down to the front there and he says, these are my guys. Hang around here, get yourself a drink. I'll call you when it's time to take your photo. Sure enough, like 15 minutes later, it's like, all right, cool, it's our turn. It's like, our turn, damn, all right. So we took a photo, we dipped, walked past back all the other people who were still standing in the queue. Sorry, guys. Anyway, when we went to Nusa Penida, we went to a restaurant and it was a shady restaurant. I knew it. I knew when I got there it was a shady restaurant. But I was like, you know what? They cook stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure we'll be fine. We just order cooked stuff. But I don't know why my mind just slipped and I ordered a pineapple juice. It just like, I was like, oh yeah, I'll have this and this and this and this. Cool, thanks. And they're like, anything to drink? I was like, oh yeah, pineapple juice. Cool. So in my mind, I was like clever. I was like, okay, I only ordered food that's cooked. We should be good. And the pineapple, and I drank the pineapple juice. My wife only had like a couple of sips and she was like, oh, this is delicious.
So this pineapple juice was what? Was it quote unquote fresh or was it boxed?
Fresh, literally fresh. Oh. Like they probably made it right there. And it later, you start feeling the bubbles in the gut.
So
and I was like,
just to clarify. So when you went on this trip, did you pack Imodium?
No. I bought some when we on our way.
You see, rookie mistake. Whenever you travel, then this is what you need. You need to make sure you have probiotics.
I didn't buy. It wasn't Imodium. It was some diarrhea treatment of some kind that I bought in Dubai at the airport.
I take Imodium as a prophylactic. Even if it's fine. It doesn't matter if I leave there constipated. At least I'll be fine.
It was bad, Phil. Yeah. Thankfully, I felt it on the way back, on the boat back from the island. I was like, things are not okay. Things are not okay.
On the boat.
Yes. And then we didn't have network on the boat. As soon as we landed. Can
you imagine? You're on the boat and now nature's called and you can't decline the call. So now you're hanging off the edge of the boat.
Well, thankfully the motion didn't start. What I felt was the bubbling. But things are not okay in here. Then I was not thinking, but I was so careful. Where did I make that damn juice, man? Why? I don't know why it just slipped I didn't even think about it. I can't believe. And Joshua, it hit me hard and it only hit her mildly. And it made sense because she only had a couple of sips and I downed that juice like, this is amazing. Freshly squeezed. Wow. It's so sweet. It's like they put sugar in it or something. Nom, nom, nom.
Oh, they put something in it, all right. They put something in it.
And then the thing is the boat takes you to when we docked, then we had to take a Gojek. They use Gojek there instead of Uber or Grab. Took a Gojek back to the hotel and I was like, listen, we need to arrive fast. And the rest of that evening was.
So was this your worst experience traveling abroad?
No, I mean
stomach wise. I'm just talking.
Yes. Yeah. That was it. Yeah, that was it. That was the worst. Yeah.
I won't say too much, but there was a time in Beijing. It was so bad. I slept in the bathtub. Things were so delicate, Dan. I couldn't even sneeze. I couldn't afford to sneeze. I was like, you know what?
It's a Beijing thing. Let me tell you, when you're in that situation, you normally have dignity. I would never. That is gross. Phil, I was hugging that toilet. I was looking at it. I was like, this is disgusting. Okay, I need to hold up here now.
The worst thing is. Okay, this is kind of getting disgusting, but we'll end it here. The worst thing is, after you've done it, right, and now you got to clean up. There's the smell. You're getting into the nooks and crannies. Like, how did it end up there? How is it there? And then more's coming, and then now you're just retching. Like, there's nothing left, but your body's like, we need to make sure. Just dry heaving.
The one thing I'm grateful for is there was no pain because I'm normally scared of vomiting because of the pain. But this one was like smooth. It was just mouth open. Wow. It was bad. Anyway, thankfully, the thing is, at the time it was really bad. But by day 2, I'd already forgotten because now we're in a new place and it's beautiful and I'm healthy again. I don't feel so bad and da 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 da. So it was a bad experience, but a short experience. So anyway, that was my trip to Bali. We're back home now, back to work. As you can imagine, coming home is exciting and a happy occasion, happy time. But yeah, and like I mentioned, we are planning our next trip. It'll take a while, but we're probably thinking something like somewhere in North Africa, maybe Morocco, maybe Egypt, something like that. We're still thinking about it, but that'll probably be next year.
Oh, nice.
Or maybe end of the year. Depends on finances.
Funny enough, the hoodie I'm wearing, I just got from Egypt. So yeah.
Nice, yeah. So that's kind of the plan, but let's see how it goes. Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about, Phil. What would you like to talk about? Would you like us to go
looking at our copious show notes?
Well, I mean, would you like us to be a little toxic? Because there's some things on my mind that I wanted to say.
Well, I know we're toxic, but let's see you get cancelled. How quickly you want to get cancelled?
It's not about getting cancelled. No, it's not. I'm also low-key joking. So there's been a couple of things that have been all over my timeline. So that's why I figured maybe we can talk about some of them. Let's go to America for a bit, okay?
Oh, no, not Trump and Elon. No.
Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's talk about DDG and Halle Bailey. Halle Bailey. Let's talk about DDG and I'm just gonna call her Halle for now.
Was this is she the mermaid? Was that the one?
Yes,
mermaid?
She's the mermaid.
Oh, okay.
For those of you who are unfamiliar, DDG is a streamer, I guess, and a rapper. I think that's what he's famous for. But the thing that he was probably the most famous for was that he was dating Halle Bailey, of the Haley sisters, Chloe and Halle. And she herself is an actress who's Shane, really. She was a Little Mermaid and she's been in other things and, her star's rising, etc., etc. All her fans have always looked at him as like, ew, like, come on, you're this amazing ray of sunshine and this is who you ended up with? And of course, his fans are like, okay, hold on. He's cool peoples though. It's actually wild to me that he's got fans like that, but streaming culture is just very interesting. It's a whole thing that scares me a little bit. Anyway, as expected, I mean, they then had a child together and people were like, no, Halle, no, now you've tied yourself to him forever, but he's such a loser. Whether he is or is not a loser, I couldn't tell you. I know very little about him. But from the surface level, he does seem to give some loserish vibes. For example, he made a diss song about his baby mama because he was unhappy that she was kissing someone on the set of Little Mermaid. Do you remember that happening, Phil?
Say what?
We talked about it in this podcast. DDG made a diss song about Halle. Maybe it's not officially a diss song, but he basically said on this song that he hated the fact that she kissed her co-star on The Little Mermaid.
So, how is he as a man supposed to react to that? Was the parameters of this kiss? Was this kiss like behind the trailer, like in a dark corner, like, oh, we're being so naughty, or was this like part of the script? The director shouted action.
No, as in the movie. In the movie.
I had forgotten this. This is incredible. Like I knew he was dumb, but I did not realize he was this dumb. This is this level.
Does this sound a little familiar, right? Sounds a little familiar, right? You remember kind of it.
I don't know what you're playing, Dan, because I can't hear a thing.
Oh, so I'm not playing anything. Did I accidentally mute or something? 1 2 1 2. No, I'm here.
No, I'm not playing anything. You mean the story you're telling me? Sounds familiar.
Yes.
Maybe I think maybe I'd purged it from my mind because it was so dumb. I knew he was a dumbass, but what is she thinking?
I'm trying to Google. I obviously won't play the song because of Spotify, but I'm trying to find what was the name of this song. I've just Googled it. Turns out this year he's released another song telling her, "Don't take my son." Okay. The song was called "Famous." It came out back in 2023. And he says, look, the hardest thing he ever did was fall in love with a famous bee. He says, yeah, it was very difficult for him to see this famous woman that he loves kissing dudes and holding hands while filming a movie. He says, I've been so insecure. I'd be thinking you really be effing, you be with on the internet, I'd be cooling it. Gotta be playing good, but you keep yeah, literally. He literally said that he was insecure that she was kissing a dude in a movie. Anyway, my point is, the little that I know about him does give off loser energy. And, you know, she seems to have been betrothed by Beyonce. That's the wrong word.
What?
Knighted by Beyonce as the next big thing, her and her sister. So, you know, it did feel like, okay, yeah, kind of a little bit of a loser guy. Anyway, that's kind of the background, right? They had a kid together. Obviously, as expected, it became a huge mess. They broke up. She accused him of cheating. He accused her of being crazy. And now they have to go through visitation. It's now in court, and there are restraining orders involved and court orders about who can see the son. There was a time when she got super mad and had to take him to court because he had he had their son live on stream when they were having shady people over at the house. Like, it's just been a mess. And I've been kind of seeing this going on. Anyway, this week, DDG filed a restraining order against Halle Bailey, claiming that the relationship has deteriorated into volatile arguments, threats of physical altercations. He claimed that Halle had made threats of self-harm. Basically, he filed that she shouldn't be allowed to take their son out of the country, which she was planning on doing, I guess, on tour and stuff. Then he also obviously shared with the court evidence, including text messages. I don't know how, but those text messages eventually came out to the public. And look, I'm not going to lie, they don't make her look great. They don't make her look very sane. But it's also kind of understandable because she's... The story is she was going through postpartum depression. They just had a baby and they're in the middle of all these fights, and then he cheats on her and she's going crazy. She's literally threatening to kill herself in these text messages. And so now he's using that as, look, as you can see, Your Honor, she's crazy, which is kind of a, dirt move on his part as well. So that's the whole story with them and whatever. So when I was saying you want to get a bit toxic earlier, it's because like his fans are also like, well, y'all owe DDG an apology because he's been saying from the beginning that she crazy. But like, I think anyone with half a brain can see that. Like, do you expect her to have a cool, calm, and collected text message saying, "Good day to you, sir. As you are aware, we are in a relationship, and I have just come to the conclusion that you may perhaps have been unfaithful to me. So what we shall do henceforth is proceed to a civil separation, and we shall find a way to make sure that our child continues to be safely looked after." Of course not. Of course she's going to react emotionally, and of course she's going to be angry. And of course there's going to be fights and insults thrown. And of course, she also is going through her own stuff and, So as much as I'm not saying this to take away accountability from her, by the way, because that having been said, still, there was a lot of wild things in them texts, is what I'm saying. Them texts was wild. And I think both things can be true. Two things can be true.
I'm looking for the news report because I just did a quick search on Twitter. Apparently, someone is saying that these texts might have been fake because apparently DDG had put a restraining order on Hailey so she couldn't leave the country with their child. But the judge denied DDG's request. And one of the reasons, according to them, but I'm waiting for corroboration, so I don't take my words too heavily, was that some of these texts may not have been legitimate. We shall see. So I'm looking into that right now. But I'm seeing the text now. They look like a lot, but also
someone said those texts look like the third verse of Eminem's Stan. Dear Mister, I'm too good to... I was like, yeah. Oh, I was upset that I laughed at that. But yeah, honestly, I kind of hope a little bit that those texts aren't real because, they do kind of make her look bad a little bit. But like, I feel like
I don't think
he looks worse. He looks worse.
Let me ask you, like, make her look bad how? What's bad about these? I need to understand.
there seems to be some element of, even though she did not, okay, there's never a good look of, if you don't call me back or if you don't hit me back, I'm going to kill myself. That's not a good look. But there also seem to be.
I'm not trying to be pedantic or difficult. But when you say it's not a good look, like, what do you mean exactly?
It's a manipulative behavior.
Okay, that's a good clarification. Okay, carry on. Sorry. Yeah.
That's what I mean by that. Like, it's manipulative behavior. But that having been said, like I said, obviously you don't expect in a fight where two people who have seen each other naked are fighting. There's no way that fight is going to be civil and everyone's talking to each other, with kindness. And that's not what's going to happen. There's going to be some crazy talk, air quotes, for lack of a better word. So I'm not too upset at the fact that there's some crazy talk. I would just like, this is what I would love. One, if DDG really did cheat on her, that's scum behavior. This is someone who was pregnant, just gave birth to your kid, and was going through postpartum depression and needed, her baby daddy or her man, I don't know, whatever the situation was at the time the most, and he's off cheating on her. That's scum behavior. Fine. He seems to be the type to, just from the text, to, I don't know what the right word is. Maybe manipulative. I don't know. But he seems to be the type to make someone mad even madder, just from the texts that I'm seeing. So I do think that he seems to be the villain here. But I would just love for, her fans to also be like, look, yes, he's the villain, but she was also talking a little mad here. But there's extenuating circumstances. There's we understand why, but this is crazy.
I get what you're trying to say, and it's not me taking an antagonistic view for the sake of podium, because I'm great. It's going to be a great podcast or whatever. But I can also understand where she's coming from. I can think you're right. It's manipulative. If someone is in a situation and they're threatening to kill themselves, that can come across as manipulation. But also, I think, I'm no psychologist, but as someone who deals with their own mental health problems, looking at these texts and the brief description you've given me, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that Hailey suffers from some form of depression.
I think she said she was going through it. Yeah. So,
because this is ringing very much like depression, and this is what someone who suffers from depression would say and do, and that's also how someone with depression would find themselves. If we're being frank. Granted, we are on the outside looking in, but the consensus from Hailey's fans in particular, and in general, is that DDG might have been a little bit below her, right?
A lot below her, yeah.
But the other thing is, at a certain point in life, people also need to realize people date at their level. Just because you think that person is below them, they're telling you what their level is. People usually date at their level. So the person you feel that's below them is not below them. It's their level. That's who they want to date. Especially if they choose to be with this person year over year. Their relationship was 2-3 years, plus a child, plus multiple cheating scandals in which she took him back. Wasn't there like a Ruby Rose DM saga somewhere amongst this whole thing? So all that to say, I think DDG also knew what buttons to press. He knew how to bag her. He knew how to keep her. He knew how to push buttons, because also in all this, he doesn't seem to be offering any help. He doesn't.
It's almost like he's like, oh yeah, this is evidence I'm collecting. That's like the vibe.
He's like, he's not offering any help. He's not even taking care of his child. Like, okay, you know what? Let's say it's totally irreconcilable differences. You don't have feelings, so you don't care for her, but your child is in that home. Your child's been looked after by this person. Surely you'd want to be like, hey, you're not okay right now. Let me make sure the baby's okay. And this whole thing after their breakup first came to light because Hailey was saying, this guy's not looking after the baby. Like, there's weird things happening. He's got the child in the house with multiple different individuals. His mom always has to look after him, this, that, and the third. So in as much as you're right, she's displaying concerning behavior. I think that behavior points to an actual illness, and his behavior points to just being a person, and there's the difference.
Fair. Now, this is something I recall having some of these conversations when we used to have Mental Wellness Mondays. Sure, yeah. I think something that probably most people will agree with is that while it may be a legitimate reason for behavior, it doesn't necessarily excuse behavior. If someone does have some form of mental illness or they're going through depression and they treat you badly, you're still right to be upset that someone treated you badly. Although it helps to understand that maybe it's because they were going through this mental illness and so on. So, cool. All right. So maybe she was going through this mental illness, or she was depressed, or whatever was going on. There's allegations that she stabbed him even at some point.
Mm-hmm.
That's still toxic or bad behavior. Caused, yes, by the mental illness or caused by the depression, but still bad behavior. And I think it's fair for someone to say, I actually don't want to be around this bad behavior or this toxic behavior or be treated this way. Now, you would hope that if it's someone that you love, maybe you're in a relationship, maybe you have a child with, that you'd be able to be supportive even when you're going through the toughest times and so on, which is why I think ultimately the villain here is DDG. And also, that having been said, it's not up to me to decide who's the villain and who's bad or who's wrong or who's right. I'm just taking advantage of this opportunity to say that, look, looking at this story and spending so much time talking about it, I even feel, even inside me, I feel like, you've been talking about this for a long time, man, for someone who doesn't really care about this that much.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like there should be some level of, hey, this dude is the messed up one here. But can we also just say that, yeah, she also wasn't moving 100% right?
And that is the definition of a toxic relationship.
Yeah. So I would argue that in many situations, both people have fault to differing degrees. So maybe it's wrong to even say who's the villain or who's not the villain. Same with this whole, you saw what happened with Offset and Cardi and whatnot. Yeah, I can already feel my quota for this is filling up.
I try and avoid it, but because I'm also on the sports balls, it was a big discussion because when they rented their yacht and their little yacht party, Stefan happened to have some pink powder that was a cause of much concern.
Phil, don't you remember those sweets, those pink sweets that we used to love?
And and when you look at the response from the women that were surrounding him, as he handed out the pink powder, it was sherbet. It looked like sherbet. You know what I mean? I was like, clearly they are reacting like he just pulled out a bag of sherbet. You know, like a $2 bag of sherbet, because they look like they want that sherbet. They really wanted that sherbet, especially that girl in the white.
Okay, so to me, the interesting part of all the other normal stuff is not interesting. I'll tell you what the interesting part of that story is. Okay, so here's the situation. Cardi B and Offset are married. Very public, power couple, two huge rappers. Obviously, Cardi is the bigger global star than Offset. But there's this power couple of two people married, always in the news, but their shenanigans are always, hey, he cheated on her, he cheated on her, he cheated on her. In a somewhat similar situation to this Halle and DDG story, many of Cardi's fans felt that she's too good for Offset. I don't know why they would think that, considering Cardi's background. And they did seem, each. As Phil said, you date at your level, guys. Mm. Anyway, the part that's interesting to me is, okay, you guys were together. You've had a very messy breakup. Now you're with different people. It hurts. It hurts to see your ex with someone else. Especially if it's someone who you've been with for long. And I can't even imagine someone who you've had children with. I would imagine that even if you've had a breakup and you've agreed we're no longer together, and you see, she with someone new, I'm sure, it burns in there. It burns. But I feel like come on, man. You know, I think that's a good judge of character, that you recognize that, yeah, ooh, that one burns. Ooh. But you dust it off and you keep it moving. Because you broke up. What do you think is supposed to happen?
That's you broke up. Warambwa. That's the difference. Agarambwa.
Yeah, but even if agarambwa, it got to a point where they were both, hey, I don't even want to be with you. I don't even want to be with you either. That's the point. It
got to the point where Cardi caught him cheating, so she was like, I'll cheat back. And then when he caught her cheating back, that's when he went. Because remember, the first tweets were him going crazy saying, you cheated on me. Then he deleted it. Because that was the whole blow up. She was like, I thought we're keeping this in-house, but if you're going to make it public, we'll make it public.
So, look, I get it. It hurts. It hurts. But once you're no longer together, don't be that person. Don't be Diddy who rocks up to your house and sets up your car to get blown up.
Allegedly.
Although that one, to be fair, they were still kind of like secretly sort of kind of together afterwards. But anyway, my point, I think that's the interesting part. I think part of a good judge of character is your reaction to rejection. And it can feel like rejection when you see your ex with someone new. And it's fine that it hurt. Dust it off, keep it moving, man. Ooh, that one smarted. Oh, damn. Go fire up that 2K or something. You know what I'm saying? Keep it moving. Don't crash out. It ain't a legit crash out. Don't crash out. Cardi B with someone new now. It's fine. All right, I've reached my quota talking about these. CIA approved topics.
I just wanted to discuss the nature of that video. I just found it fascinating that
the Stefan Diggs video.
Yeah. Okay. Stefan Diggs, how would I say? He's probably like top of the B tier wide receivers. I don't think.
Okay, give me in football terms. Give me in football terms. B team. So he's plays for a good team. Plays for a good team.
He's like a Lampard, yeah. Well, he moved to the Buffalo. So let's say he's like a Lampard. You know what I mean? He's not a De Bruyne. He's a Lampard. You get what I'm saying? Like
cannot compute. Okay, so he's like okay. Let's think of a current player. Let's say he's not Cole Palmer for Chelsea. But he might be like Nicholas Jackson. Not the best player, but an important player
a solid player earning decent money. Like if he went to a mid to bad team, he'd probably be the best player on that team. You get what I'm saying?
Okay. All right, cool.
So you have him. So because of that, he already had some notoriety, but now you're with Cardi, so your notoriety is going to explode. And it obviously has. He's noticed. He's now sitting courtside. He's out on the bar with her. And he's been known to be a party boy. He's also been known to be a sniper. Like a lot of the talk around has been like this guy is a bit of a bad boy, you know, with the ladies. And you see that in that video. But what I'm still failing to comprehend is, why was it being recorded? Why was he allowing it to be recorded? Why was that video uploaded? Even if there wasn't any pink powder, just the dynamic in that video is wild. Why is that for public consumption? And that's why I don't like. We're living in this crazy world where everything is recorded and documented now, and it's even dragging along everything else with it. So like things from a previous era, which were done in the dark and no one spoke about, but because it's now moved into this era, people are talking about it. Like the Diddy trial, the circus of the Diddy trial is happening now, right? Mm-hmm. And there's some horrific things being discussed, but then there's also people who are maximizing the sensationalism. And like I was disgusted by the Cameron video. I don't know if you saw Cameron's interview with the Punisher.
No.
So I haven't watched it. I saw some highlights, I saw some discussion around it, and I was like this is crazy.
The Punisher as in...
So... Well, if you've been following the trial, there's a sex worker who calls himself the Punisher, who was one of the witnesses, was brought to on the stand, who testified to having sexual relations with Cassie and being at the freak-offs and so forth.
Oh, I was going the direction of Marvel and Daredevil and
count yourself lucky.
John Bernthal. But anyway, okay.
So the Punisher was then interviewed by Cameron, right? And they're discussing some very lewd. What's it? Lucid? No, not lucid.
Lewd.
There we go. Lewd-ish English. It's very lewd acts, and obviously the nature of the conversation is disgusting. But it's also, why does this need to be discussed? Like, who needs to know this? Unless in some weird way, it seems like Cameron is part of the people trying to sanitize Diddy's image, which is strange because his business partner is Mace, who famously does not like Diddy, has multiple songs and freestyles speaking about Diddy's illness, and has refused to speak on this trial, which is totally understandable. And it makes no sense. But it does make sense in the fact that you see the talking points that academics and them are pushing. Funny enough, academics and them are frontline with the DGG thing, playing DGG support group. They've also been trying to sanitize Diddy's DDG and DD. They've been sanitizing Diddy's
Something
image.
about too many D's in your name, eh?
Yeah. And trying to make Cassie look like she was somehow manipulating people. And I really do worry about people's ability to think laterally, just to think deeply on subjects and analyze, and media literacy. It's the same as the Tory Lanez thing. Another thing that academics is finding sent off. Like, we can even discuss that with Tory Lanez being stabbed up and this renewed Free Tory Lanez campaign that has come about and this, that, and the third. He was convicted. Whether you have doubts about him being the shooter, there is enough circumstantial evidence to put him in that position. There's also the fact that he never pointed out who the shooter was. Simply put, if Tory Lanez was not the shooter and he went onto the stand, he should have said, I never shot her. Someone else shot them. This person shot them. There were only 4 people in that car. So people switch between Tory Lanez didn't shoot to Tory Lanez was set up by Rock Nation to Kelsey had the gun. Guys, which conspiracy theory are you going with? Like, stick to one. Be consistent.
So this is going to sound shoehorning, but I think it's the thesis time, Phil. Thesis time. This is thesis time. The same demon that makes someone defend DDG or Tory Lanez, or for that matter, even Diddy, you got to understand that, the black man is never allowed to be successful. They had to find a reason.
DDG was trying to buy NBC, man.
That same demon, I would argue. And in this thesis, I will prove that the same demon that makes one do that is the exact same demon that makes someone an unhinged stan. Beyonce stans. Of course, it's less harmful to just be a fan of an artist. But what I'm trying to point is, me and this agenda are together. And I refuse to let anything make me not believe that. You refuse to take in new information. You refuse to have anyone say anything bad about your fave. Same demon as football Twitter. I know this sounds like shoehorning. I know. I understand.
I don't think it is. I think.
Allow me to prove my thesis.
Funny enough, I think this kind of fits into like what we're told when we're growing up. Do not idolize men. This is exactly what happens when you idolize men. They knew something is wrong with us. They knew, like, the moment you allow yourself to just be taken a little bit, you're gone.
We can't. It's like the ability to think critically. When it's about your fave, it becomes impossible. And I understand the problem is, right, in any kind of debate, these different agendas that happen online, there's always some people trolling. I guarantee you there's a ton of people that are air quotes trolling on this DDG story. They're just trying to rile up, rage bait, gender wars. You see y'all women, They probably don't really believe what they're saying, and they're probably not even really fans of DDG. But still, it's a bit problematic that they're saying all these kind of things online. But what they're saying is fitting in well with people who genuinely believe it. People who are running with that narrative. People who are like, yeah, this is what it is. Probably the same with stans. There's probably people who are low-key joking when they talk about Beyonce is this or Taylor Swift is this or whatever. They're like low-key joking. But they are the fans who are like, oh, man, I'll kill for this woman. Kill for this man. Same as the people who are there low-key trolling. Like, Liverpool sucks, yo. I mean, Liverpool has no pull. It's not really a big club. They just kind of stumbled their way to a win this season. No. I mean, I would have loved for Arsenal to win, and far be it from me to remove a funny Twitter agenda, but that's because it's funny. It's just a joke. But there's people who genuinely believe it. Same with the stories about Arsenal. Arsenal had a terrible season because, Tottenham got a European trophy. Man, you guys are talking about a trophy that Arsenal was too good to compete in. The reason we were not in that competition is because we were too good. We finished higher last year. It's critical, normal conversation. But for the sake of agendas, it's funny to be like, you guys had a sucky season. You came second again. For jokes, all good. Banter, it is what it is. But there are people who... I was watching an interview with John Obi Mikel repeating... and I was like, bro, you're a decorated footballer. And you're genuinely telling me... Genuine. Because he was asked like, who... This is the question, right? He was on TalkSport or whatever it was. The question was... Of these 4 teams, who had the worst season? And rank them 1 to 4, right? So Chelsea, he's talking about all the teams that qualified outside of Liverpool, right? So Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Newcastle. Mm-hmm. So he says Newcastle had the best season. I can somewhat see, I can see reasoning for that. Newcastle had the best season because, they won a cup. They qualified for Champions League. Carabao. Yeah, they won the Carabao Cup. Look, as it is now, Newcastle's the smallest club. So
that's a tumbler, bro. It's barely a cup, it's a tumbler.
I agree. But if I squint a little bit, I can somewhat see your point saying a relatively smallish team, Newcastle, if they look at their season, given what they expected at the beginning of the season and where they are at the end of the season, we qualified for Champions League, we won a Carabao Cup. Do you know what? We had a successful season. I can hear that. What about Chelsea? Listen, we spent 2.1 billion over the last couple of windows. We spent a billion and a half over 2 windows. All right. But we qualified for Champions League and we won the Conference League. First of all, if Carabao Cup is a tumbler, Conference League is a thimble. But it's a cup still. So, again, I completely disagree. I don't think it's a successful season given how much you spent, but you have something to celebrate at least. So, hey, it's not a complete train smash. We're too good to be in this cup, but we won it. So at least that's something to celebrate. Plus we got Champions League for next season. So we have an opportunity to rebuild. We should be good for next season. Again, I can somewhat see the reasoning. So maybe it's not a success, but it's not an abject failure, right? Tottenham, they're 17th. They're literally 18, 19, 20 were relegated. Tottenham was 17th. They won the Europa League. So, at least for the first time, you won a cup. Right? But it's been a pretty abysmal season. But you won a cup. So, that's something to celebrate. Arsenal didn't win a cup. They came second. They were Champions League semi-finalists. That was the worst season. Really, guys? Are we using critical thinking here? Really? But
that's the thing. I would appreciate. I wanted to interrupt you and just say, Dan, you are asking for critical thinking from a man who's rich and famous for kickball good. He knows kickball good. He does not know understanding this.
That was just a slight deviation. I'm not, and it led to my own little rant. But the point that I was trying to make is when you have an agenda, the agenda is, down with Arsenal. It is what it is. Football Twitter is what it is. It's about agendas, about trolling. Fine. But there are people who are now genuinely beginning to believe, Arsenal fans continue to celebrate second. No, they don't. You're not happy that we're second, but,
But time.
got it this.
You guys also, next year. Like when? Like, I don't lie. Like, guys. Almost doesn't count.
You can talk. You can talk because you took the cup. You took the title.
Dan, even when we had our 20-year drought, we were still winning Champions Leagues. We're still winning FA Cups. We're still winning Europa Leagues. We still had our trophy case. Still had trophies.
I will not have history whitewashed. This is a lie. You had a drought without Champions League and without other cups.
We didn't.
Let's drought.
Let's bring it up right now.
History is being whitewashed in front of our very eyes. In front of our very eyes. I bring it up.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up now. I'm bringing up our honors. Let's go here. Let's go backwards from Istanbul. Let's go. So, are we going pre-Istanbul or post-Istanbul?
I'm not familiar enough with Liverpool's history to know the references of the years Istanbul is.
Okay, so UEFA Cup 2001-2000. League Cup. We've got 2000, 2001, 2002, 2011, 2021, 2023.
Okay.
FA Cups 2021.
2006 2012 to 2017.
Okay.
So the 2011-2012 season to the 2017-2018 season.
Chronological order. Give me a second. Let me try to find a chronological orders list here.
6-year drought without a single trophy.
2011-2012. How long is your drought?
5. We're on 5.
Oh.
We're on 5. It's not great. It's not fun.
Let's revisit this next year.
It's not but we're not celebrating.
Haven't you guys spent almost $1 billion on your squad?
No. We've spent 600 million over 5 years. For context, last year Chelsea spent $1 billion.
Yes, that I know.
So everyone needs to relax. Relax.
But Chelsea
anyway,
can't. Chelsea's
my point is
dumpster fire. But yeah,
my point is it was a disappointing season for Arsenal because of expectations at the beginning of the season. So if you measure versus expectations, I can hear the argument. I would love to have a critical conversation about versus expectations. What did Newcastle expect at the beginning of the season versus what they got at the end of the season? What did Arsenal expect at the beginning of the season versus what they got at the end of the season? Yeah, we can have discussions about, is it disappointing? Is it better than what they expected? And so on. But if we're talking about pure comparison, I refuse to hear someone who was 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th say, oh, you guys had a terrible second. You came second, a terrible season. You came second. Man, if you don't get out of my face. Anyway. What were we talking about? DDG, Cardi B. Let's talk about another big breakup. Let's talk about... Listen. The CIA was sitting there and they were like, listen, these people are talking a little bit too much about gorillas over here. We need to bring back things to the normal. Bring it back to Areolas, Cardi B, DDG. There we are, sweet spot. Now they won't notice what's happening with Trump and Elon.
Do I want to touch this? I don't know.
We knew this breakup was coming.
Actually, it lasted longer than most of us expected. I gave it 6 months.
I'm pretty impressed that they made it last this long, but I could already see there were some rumbles in the jungle.
Did you see? The best part was my man's press conference. They're like, yo, what happened to your eye? Like, I told my son to punch me.
Tell the truth. So, okay. Obviously, this is a developing story. It literally happened today. So, as on the day of recording, so we won't spend too much time on it, but there's the big breakup has happened. So first of all, Elon has left the Trump administration as the special advisor that he was. And now they are publicly, what's the right word? Calling each other out, shall we say. And I'm so curious to see what's going to happen next. What's going to happen with Twitter? What's going to happen with SpaceX? What's going to happen with, just in general. Elon went on this very Twitter, on this X of his, and he said, if it wasn't for me, Trump would not have won the election. The House would have been majority Democrat, and everything he has now would not exist.
And the second tweet, what was the tweet that followed that one? What did he say there?
What did he say?
Oh, let me pull that up. Oh, that was the killer. I'll make sure I get it right. Give me a second.
Isn't that where he said that he's ungrateful?
Yep, that's what I wanted to get. Is it like? I think sometimes Elon forgets he's not in South Africa anymore.
And then he's on ketamine, man. And then
guys,
like listen to this. Listen to this.
Calling a head of state, like as a private citizen, calling a head of state ungrateful. Are you mad? Even a head of state calling a head of state ungrateful is crazy. But as a private citizen, calling a head of state,
especially someone as petty as Trump. Oh, this is gonna be so.
Fam,
it's such ingratitude. That's what you're saying.
Fam, I don't care who the president is, right? The president can be the most emotionally stable, mild-mannered, understanding, compassionate person. It's a head of state. The moment you say that, even if they're like, cool, I'll let it slide, they literally have a whole army behind them. And they're like, nah, fam, you ain't gonna do that to our guy. Nah, fam.
I feel you've been traumatized by Zimbabwe, I see.
No, dude, I just know.
In other countries, they feel free to say these things to their heads of state.
Just because other presidents get slapped in front of people.
Okay, so I want to play for you what Trump said about Elon. This is what I was just looking for. So here you go. This is a press conference that happened a couple of hours ago.
He's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval desk. And even with the black eye, I said, do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup. But he said, no, I don't think so. Which
That's
is
wild.
Interesting. And very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess.
Look, Killer T, back at it.
And I had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best things. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about it.
Hey.
Everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. And again, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest economic development moves anywhere.
Yeah. All I can say is it's going to be very interesting to observe what's going to happen because everyone knew this breakup was coming. It's just a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting stuff. Very interesting. We will be paying close attention. We'll see how it affects the tech world, the real world, the political world, and our very own Zimbabwe. Phil, have you had a chance to drive over the Twimbos exchange yet?
I don't go that part of town. I don't go that part of town, and I can't for the life of me think what I'd be doing in that part of town. I've been looking at the lyrics like issues. I'm not a civil engineer. Let me come out and say so. I'm not going to really critique from photos. The craftsmanship of this construction project, but it has been interesting to see like combis miss the turn or miss their exits, and instead of like carrying on down the interchange and taking the next exit, like what normal people do in normal societies with interchanges and highways, they're like, nah, let's just reverse on the highway. That'll work.
Get out of my way. Get out the way. Get out the way. Get out the way.
Yeah, so I haven't seen that yet. Well, we speaking on local, tragic news, Dan. Maybe we need to cue up the song.
First, I need to hear if you are making a joke or this is something serious.
It's something serious, man. Something serious.
I'm not gonna play no song if it's serious. Let's hear. What you saying?
Food lovers bar deal is normal.
Okay, I think we can cue up.
As a surprise to no one, had you been in there recently?
I've been in the Bardale one recently. Apparently, the Avondale one was actually not doing badly. This is what I was told from someone who lives in the area. They were like, no, like it had a lot of foot traffic. There were people there.
It wasn't that bad, but what I've noticed is ever since OK took over the Food Lovers, the stock variety has been found wanting. So fresh produce in Zimbabwe, we're actually, despite everything, we're very blessed. Like it's very easy to get fresh produce. There's a lot of places you can actually get decent fresh produce. Like I remember that supermarket at Golden Stairs when it was still open. That was another great place where I would get food. So like whenever I'd get my haircut by that old salon that our acquaintance owned, like I get my haircut there. walk down, get groceries and fresh produce there. There's that place along Harare Drive that has fresh produce. There's obviously Food Lovers. There's a lot of places, like if you're in the north, where you could get decent, good produce at good prices. Where other places fall apart now is everything else. Like dishwasher, cleaning products.
Well, you're just going to list the groceries now.
Yes, exactly. let me bring up my shopping list. Ginger, garlic, Imodium.
Okay.
Wet wipes. But and that's where they started to struggle. And in recent times, you started noticing, like, especially Bardell. Bardell used to be like a flagship store, man. They had so many products. You'd walk in there, like fruit up to wazoo. Then you'd find like crazy sweets that have a different type of butter and cheese that you haven't seen before and all this. And then in recent months, you walk in there and you're like, oh, just one type of cheese. And before it used to be the pre-packed cheese, like with the like properly packed with the seal. Now it'll be cheese where they obviously look like a big wheel and they cut the wheel into like chunks and then they wrapped it in clear film. You're like, hey, this is a bit of a downgrade. Then more and more empty shelves, a lot more water. Like normally there'd just be like one small section with the water. Now like the whole row has water.
Yep.
It's like, why is there so much water? Why is there so much masoe?
So, okay, I was okay. First of all, as a slight disclaimer, I have worked with the OK Group and with Food Lovers franchise. So, there's that has to be taken into consideration. But for the number one thing is retail is such a tricky business. It's very easy for all of us armchair analysts to sit and be like, that was a dumb decision. But retail is fine margins and gambles and risks, and even when plans are laid out well, supply chains can affect you, and staff and simple things like reputations and so on. So many things, put retail on such a knife edge. The history is that the Food Lovers franchise was doing very well in affluent areas of the country, particularly in three places: Greendale, Avondale, Bardale. At around about that time, the OK Group had gotten some new management and they were looking at expanding into new spaces. And they thought, you know what? Our strength is retail. We have strong supply chains. We have existing financing. We believe we can take on Food Lovers to cater to that affluent market. Personally, when I heard this was happening, I did think it was a bad idea because they already had Bon Marché, right?
Bingo.
It's basically the brand Bon Marché is supposed to be for the more discerning shopper. You don't just want to walk into an OK.
And it's supposed to have, but sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I think I'm just going to bounce off you.
Sure.
The OK started diluting their brand to the point of there was no discernment, because they also took over the old Macro location in Hillside.
So that's a little bit different.
But
Let
me get to it, right? So you now have 3 different brand SBUs, but they all seem to be serving the same thing. So you've got OK.
No, I would argue not Macro.
Let me finish.
Which became OK Mart.
So you've got OK, which is general grocery. What some people might term lower LSM, lower average income, right? Then you've got Bon Marché, which is supposed to be more appliances, more expensive groceries, but still similar profile to OK, just parallel product SKUs. And then you now have Food Lovers, which, as you've rightly said, directly competes with Bon Marché and directly competes with Bon Marché in the same location. So in 2 of those areas you mentioned, they are literally facing each other. in Avondale, you had Bon Marché on one end of the shopping center and Food Lovers on the other. You could walk to both of them, right? At Bardale, same thing. You can walk from Bon Marché to Food Lovers. They're literally within walking distance at the same shopping center. But they're selling somewhat different products and they're competing against each other. And then you've got the third party, which is Pick and Pay. And then now you've got OK Mart, which is ideally supposed to be more household appliances, more clothing, more bulk purchases.
Yes.
But
okay. Allow me to jump in here.
Sure.
So there's something. Okay, first of all, OK Mart, in my opinion, OK Mart was not a bad decision. The history of OK Mart is the OK Group purchased the Macro Group, and that came with what was Macro, and then they obviously rebranded it to OK Mart. And that was primarily supposed to be wholesale to a certain extent, and they also expanded into various other directions, like you mentioned, clothing, et cetera. But that OK Mart was never meant to target it was never a more premium store. The premium offering within the OK Group was Bon Marché, and then they brought in Food Lovers. Now, there is somewhat of an argument to be made that even if OK Group did not buy Food Lovers, they still existed in the same location. They already existed. Bon Marché, which is supposed to be offering a premium grocery shopping experience, and Food Lovers, which is supposed to be offering a premium grocery shopping experience, are already in the same location. Whether OK Group owns it or it doesn't own it. So them buying it doesn't change that. But I do question what the strategy is, because are you then going to rebrand the Food Lovers to Bon Marché, or are you going to have two premium offerings? That in itself is not a bad idea. I'll tell you why. Because first of all, the people in investment would have known that OK now owns Food Lovers. People who pay attention to money and markets and movements would have known that. But it wasn't made a very public knowledge thing. It wasn't marketed as part of the OK Group. It wasn't part of the OK Grand Challenge. For the average consumer, they would have just continued going to Food Lovers if they went to Food Lovers. So I don't think it was necessarily a huge problem that they bought it. But my question is, what was the strategy? Because if you have two, in retail, you expect to cater to different markets. So you'd have multiple stores that cater for different, you'd have like a
different market segments. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you call it? Like, anyway, an area where people live, you have a retail store or grocery store that's going to cater to them. You would also probably expect that you would have one for the lower end, one for the higher end, and different parts of the city or the country, depending on where it is, where it fits on the map, etc. You're also going to compete. So if you let's say it was previously OK didn't own Food Lovers. So here we are in Avondale. There's a Food Lovers and there's a Bon Marché. You don't own Food Lovers. So your strategy is, how do we make sure the customers come to us instead of Food Lovers? That's your strategy. So maybe you're going to improve the quality of your service. Maybe you're going to give specials. Maybe you're going to have exclusive good, whatever it is that you're going to do, promotions to try and make sure that when a premium shopper comes to Avondale, they would prefer to come to Bon Marché instead of Food Lovers. Same with Food Lovers. They'll be doing the same. If you purchase Food Lovers, is the strategy going to continue to be the same? No. Because if you are successful, then you're cannibalizing the other store. Would your strategy then be, we are pivoting and doing slightly different things? For example, Food Lovers is going to mainly focus on fresh produce. And I think there's a name that they have within the retail space when they focus on food or ready-made food and fresh produce and that kind of thing. Gourmet food, right? So premium retailing of gourmet food. So that was probably the initial plan. The initial plan was probably, yes, I know they are both premium retailers. However, Food Lovers is going to mostly focus on premium gourmet real food and fresh produce, whereas Bon Marché is going to focus more on groceries, but for premium. There will be some overlap, of course, but that's how we're going to market them. Sell the idea to the board. Everyone is happy. All right, let's approve the millions of dollars that are needed to make this purchase. Unfortunately, shortly thereafter, we started having the things that anyone could have anticipated would happen in Zimbabwe: currency fluctuations, supply chain problems, etc., etc. Now we find Food Lovers is no longer as well stocked or as premium feeling as it was before. And then now people are now questioning, but why did you do that? Now they're probably using the same suppliers that they used for Bon Marché. And all of this is, to me, this is fascinating. I love paying attention to this kind of thing because, I don't know, it's just like watching textbooks happen in real life. Real life. Anyway, now OK has announced that they're closing the Avondale and Borrowdale Food Lovers. But interestingly enough, Bulawayo Food Lovers is remaining open. Both Borrowdale and Avondale were in the exact same place as literally walking distance from a Bon Marché. In the case of Borrowdale, there was also a Spa, and also on the other side, there was a TM Pick and Pay. Question for you, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the Greendale Food Lovers so much more successful than the other Food Lovers?
Let me figure out what I can say and what I can't say on microphone. So I think first contextually, as Dan mentioned, retailism is very difficult, particularly because lack of access to foreign currency.
Yeah.
Because of the auction system, there was a time when, granted, it's not even formal anymore, but every Tuesday, all the companies in Zimbabwe were bidding for a pool as small as $25 million. If you're okay with 30 branches across the country, across all your business, your store profiles, that's a drop in the bucket. So that already limits the amount of international brands you can purchase and bring in. And even locally, when you're going to your providers, you're telling them or you're negotiating anything between T30 and T90 payment terms. And they're like, no, because you're offering them this payment in local currency. They're like, no, you're crazy. And if you've been in a Bon Marché or you've been in a Pick and Pay, in recent months, they've somewhat normalized. But if you were paying in local currency, when you converted it back to US dollars at the bank rate, you'd find yourself spending as much as $7 for dishwasher that you'd normally get for $2 to $3 anywhere else, simply because they were trying to hedge against the inflation of the currency exchange. And all this makes it incredibly difficult and adds another layer of complexity to running retail in Zimbabwe. Greendale succeeded in it's a family that still owns it. They are running their own logistics operation. They're importing themselves and they prefer to sell in US dollar. And for the most part, they do. Obviously, they abide by the law. Like, here's a life hack for you. If you still earn Zim dollars and you want to do your groceries, go to Food Lovers. It's cheaper than anywhere else.
Don't tell people that, Phil, because then you'll ruin it for everyone. You'll ruin it for everyone.
I'm not ruining it for everyone. It's the law. They're law abiding.
I know, but okay. I think you touched on the secret sauce. Most people pay in US dollars at Food Lovers Greendale.
Here's another hack. It's like Caterwise, for example. Caterwise started off in the back of the house where they are now. And now they've expanded that property. They've got a whole warehouse in the back now, which is next door to Mozambique La Parada.
Yeah.
If you, once again, it's now like Caterwise has now become what Jaggers and Macro was to us back in the day. If you've got a substantial amount of shopping you need to do, back to school, whatever, and you need to spend more than $200 on this set of groceries or RIA or supplies, whatever, go to Caterwise. It's the same reason why Electrosales is doing so well. I don't know if you read Electrosales financials last year. Well, earlier this year, actually, but for last year's financials. Electrosales is doing very well because they're following a similar model to Greendale, but also they're doing private funding. It's great. When you look at the creditors list, it's private individuals. It's literally like, if you look at their statement, it's literally names of people sending them or loaning them figures upward of $100,000. I'm like, yo, it must be nice. It's not a business loan, huh? It's not like I come to you and I'm like, yo, Dan, I've got a business. I need 100,000 capital. You're like, no, it's cool. Phil, I got you. I've got this company. I'll funnel it through my company account. We'll formalize it, send it through you there. You're like, nah, fam. You want me to eco-cash it to you right now? Or what, do you want to zip it? Is that good for you? And then bam. That's another thing. It's like access to capital matters. And access to private capital as a private company is a big benefit. When you don't have to account to shareholders in this economy, in this market, and you can focus and be agile and nimble, which OK and Pick and Pay are unable to do. Because even as we discussed this, Pick and Pay just wrote off all of this the Zimbabwe revenues because it's that bad right now. So they're succeeding because it's private funding. They're able to be agile, and they're able to get the foreign currency that they need. To the extent where they like when that complex is done, it's going to be crazy.
I'm fascinated to watch how things go because clearly, Zim is the wild, wild west, especially when it comes to retail. I mean, even Pick and Pay posted that they made an insane loss in Zim that they wrote off. So, but I think you touched on it. Like the secret sauce to food lovers' success is that most people pay in US, so they can just price it normally. It's not cheap.
It's not. Food
not
lovers,
bad.
So here's the thing: like, also living in Zimbabwe, you become an expert at groceries. So let me tell you what food lovers has one of the best product mixes, and this is where they've got in marketing. There's a thing called variable pricing, where you always by how you price a product is where you steer the customer to purchase. So I'll have a regular, a large, and an extra large coffee, for example. Regular coffee will be $1. Large coffee will be $2. Extra large will be $2.50.
Yeah.
You see that and you're like, wait a minute, I'm getting more bang for my buck. Let me get the extra large. You're not going to need all that coffee, right? Mm-hmm. And economies of scale, it's cheaper for me to sell you the extra large at $2.50 than it would be to sell the other variants. So I'm pushing you towards that thing. Food Lovers does one thing very well is their produce, wide variety, reasonably priced, except for the imported stuff, right? They've got good quality on that. They've got great customer service. They've got a good product mix, but they're actually pretty expensive on other stuff. Like on their regular groceries, they're actually really expensive.
But here's the gag. They are expensive, but actually they're cheaper than if you go to some of these other retailers because they're pricing for the currency.
But this is where I come back to. If you now, for example, if you want the best meat at the best price, Enterprise, second Kava, then Food Lovers. But Kava is a very small operation right now, right? Enterprise Meats, same thing, small meat operation. But Enterprise actually has great quality meat, great price. But produce, you will struggle to find anyone who has as good as produce and a good variety of produce as Food Lovers. And that's what they get you in the road of produce. And then you just like, I'm not going to go to 5 different stores. I'm just going to get everything here. And they make their money there. This is how washed I've become, Dan. And the pun is intended when I explain. There's a shop down the road. Sunlight is $2. Do you know how much it is in Food Lovers? $3.90. So it's literally double the price in Food Lovers. But because I can't trust the produce from the shop down the road, and they don't have all the stuff that I need, it just makes more sense for me to get the stuff from Food Lovers. And that's where they're winning. So figuring out your product mix, figuring out your variable pricing is an art and a science, and Food Lovers has figured it out. Well, Food Lovers Green Deal has figured it out, and Bon Marché have not. Pick and Pay have not, and they were far too reliant on their distribution channels and their inflexible payment terms, and now they're suffering for it. And it's unfortunate because there are ways to do it. Like, as we've seen, private capital is doing it. Electrocells doing it.
Sorry, Phil. Sorry. Breaking news. I don't know if you've just checked in the Patreon group.
I've been seeing it. Well, we're not even saying that name we're not saying that on the podcast. We're not saying that on the podcast.
Why?
I'm not saying that. Anyway, Elon is insinuating that someone may have been at an island with someone who was notorious for taking people to an island and engaging in illicit activities.
Elon and Donald are crashing out live on the socials right now. If you were on a break, be a great time to just come back, see what's going on. Nah, it will filter to you anyway. Don't worry, you'll find it.
Happy Pride Month. Did you see the
live crash out? Hey, we were waiting for this.
This is the messiest breakup ever, yo. Danny, you're laughing. This is the full of modern civilization. This is the full of civilization. And you're laughing.
It's about time, Phil. It's about time. As long as I don't have to keep going to work.
Do you know what the wild thing is? These guys are subtweeting each other on 2 different platforms. They're subtweeting each other on their own social media platforms, but they're not intersecting.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on, Philip. I know we are just back, but allow us to ease ourselves back into the podcast. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to go crazy. We talked a little bit about food lovers. There is just one other thing that I wanted to talk about. And it's this tragic story that came out of Zim, of the guy who died after he was killed by the pit bull. Did you hear that story?
No, I missed this one.
Okay, so there was a pit bull owner who lived in Bluff Hill. Okay, let me not speak from the perspective of the owner. There was a man who was walking in Bluff Hill and he was killed by a pit bull that was owned by a guy who lived there. And apparently they were, I don't know if it's 100% verified, but apparently they were showing pictures of the wall where the pit bull lived. It was like, one of those like not fully constructed walls. So it was very easy for the dog to come in and out. Many residents who were interviewed by news when they were following it were saying that, no, the guy who lives there was a very arrogant dude who every time they would complain that, your dog is like terrorizing the community and you just let it out of the house all the time. And he would, just basically tell them that, you kids get off my lawn. Anyway, so this past week, there was a man who tragically was chased by the dog and actually got killed by it. And the SPCA got involved. They apparently took all the dogs that were on the property and put them down. There was talk about them being neglected. And obviously he's going to be facing culpable homicide charges for the death of this man. So that's ultimately the story. Then obviously this led to a whole debate on the socials about pit bulls, a recurrent debate that keeps coming up, that should pit bulls be banned? There are countries across the world where pit bull ownership is banned, and some are advocating, no pun, for pit bulls to also be banned here in Zimbabwe. Now, obviously, I don't know enough about dogs and dog training and breeds for me to speak very knowledgeably about this. I have heard that pit bulls are dangerous, but, people have also kept pit bulls without incident. So I would be keen to probably read up a little bit more about how much does the breed of the dog play into it. And shouldn't we be more focusing on what sounds like it was a neglect or perhaps even abuse of said animals that caused them to be so aggressive?
Carry on.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I want to hear your thoughts because you've had pit bulls before, right?
Yeah, I used to breed them. So I used to breed bull bulls, I used to breed pit bulls, and I used to breed Dobermans. Good, it was good money. Now I need to get back into that. Anyway, there are dogs that I think dogs are inherently, friendly animals, but there are some dogs with the ability to inflict harm. And I think that's just due to this, the size and how they're built. Pit bulls, for example, are the bruisers of the canine breeds. They normally are stronger. They have stronger jaws. They have the potential to be very aggressive. And I think you'd even remember like my cousins, the ones in Mount Pleasant. They also used to have pit bulls. And even those ones, even though I quasi-trained them, they even bit me. But that was because I stepped on its foot once.
Didn't they have the Ridgebacks?
No, those had they're bull bulls.
They have that small. No, well, okay, I haven't been. I'm
talking about years ago.
So small.
Like,
okay, cool.
Years ago, they're bull bulls. And one thing I also do know is bull bulls are the friendliest dogs. Like when the kids at my parents also coming up, my cousins and them, they would play with them. Even my nephew, Cam, grew up surrounded by people. I've got this photo that I probably should get framed actually of Cam is like 6 months old. He's learning how to crawl. And he was he used to crawl like the dogs. So like he never used to crawl on his knees. He'd crawl on his feet because he was trying to imitate the puppies. And he's surrounded by like 12 Boer bulls. And he's just having a great time. If you neglect a dog, and dogs are very hypersensitive to human emotion. So if you have a nervous or angry disposition, they will pick up on that energy and they'll amplify it. So that's another thing that people need to be cognizant of. If how you behave and what you're dealing with is transferred to the dog. And if you are not paying attention to your feelings, or you're not paying attention to how you take care of the dog, and you're not paying attention to the behavioral patterns you're creating within the dog, it can become a very violent creature. So I also do know that a lot more research has gone into it. And I understand some of the rationale behind pit bulls, for example, because pit bulls do have the potential to inflict a lot of harm. But so do Dobermans, so do Ridgebacks, so do Great Danes, so do German Shepherds, as people of our ilk will know. So ultimately, I think we should be focused on making sure the people that own dogs are doing so correctly. And it goes back to the conversation we had on this podcast a few months ago when we were laughing about what people deemed as unfair taxation. In conjunction with a bike license, you also need a dog license. And I think for a dog license, the minimum requirement for dog license should be the owner should have a basic understanding of how to take care, treat, and train a dog. Ideally, if you lived in a perfect society, you should be allowed or should be able to like get the dog at least a minimum amount of training so that sit, stay, stop instructions it clearly understands it can act on, so that in the event it does try to attack someone, you can bring it to heel.
So I just asked Gemini to give me a little bit of an overview on this topic. And I've just learned about a highly contentious topic that exists in the world that's called BSL, or breed-specific legislation. The arguments for breed-specific legislation state that there are certain breeds of dogs that have a disproportionate amount of fatalities and injuries, and that some of these breeds could potentially be genetically predisposed towards aggression. And it's a consideration that, yes, it's fine. Maybe most dogs are fine, but isn't it better for us to protect health and safety to identify which are the breeds that are predisposed towards aggression and perhaps limit the ownership of them? Maybe perhaps make a stricter license for specific breeds. Whereas arguments against BSL, or breed-specific legislation, state that while there does seem to be a disproportionate amount of bites in specific breeds, there isn't any evidence that says that limiting breeds would reduce bites. It's just a matter of those are the breeds that are owned by people, or whatever the case is. And some people believe that it's unfair to punish owners and dogs, essentially painting all breeds with the same brush. My first initial opinion on this is, I think if studies show us that there's a specific breed that is a little bit more dangerous than others, I do think it's fair to be like, okay, this particular breed is a little bit more dangerous than others, as statistics have shown us. Therefore, there's a slightly stricter license or a stricter expectation for you to own or breed such a breed.
I would agree with you, but you also need to understand it's a bit skewed, right? So you'll find that lockjaws would rank high on that list. I'm not looking at what you're looking, but I'm assuming lockjaws would be on that list, right?
Yes. Let me actually read this for you. Proponents for BSL argue that pit bull type dogs are responsible for a disproportionate number of bite incidents, and more importantly, for more severe and fatal injuries. They often highlight the breed's historical breeding for fighting, suggesting inherent traits such as powerful bite force, tenacity, or gameness, and a particular biting style, i.e. the hold and shake, which contribute to the severity of the attacks.
So, and this is part of the thing, right? Is you've got a breed of dog that has the potential to inflict harm. And then people breed it to inflict harm. And the people that breed it to inflict harm actually want to inflict harm with said dog. So I would, this is akin but not really. It's a slight parallel, but very different to like buying an assault rifle. The people that buy assault rifles do not buy assault rifles to go duck hunting. They buy assault rifles to assault people, right? But imagine if an assault rifle was something that naturally occurred in nature, but then you bred it to become more potent and more violent, and you introduced it to circumstances and scenarios that are more potent and more violent. So anecdotally, for example, Dan, if I'm shooting a hip-hop video and I want to look tough and gangster and gritty, and I want a dog to be, am I getting a chow chow or am I getting a lockjaw?
Phil, in 2025, we have said no to toxic masculinity.
Okay.
It's time for the gangsters to be walking around with poodles, son.
And the reason why those things look gangster and gritty is because people literally use those dogs as living weapons. Their protection, their attack dogs for that purpose. So therefore, bite incidents are going to skew proportionally higher because that is what people are using the dog for. It's not like the dog comes out violent. You breed it to be violent. And that's my major concern as someone who cares about dogs. I totally understand where people are coming from. That for the most part, the person who's more likely to own a violent dog is someone who's also going to have traits of violence within them. And it's going to create this perpetual cycle. So is maybe getting rid of the dogs the best thing? Yes, but it's a sad state of affairs. You know what I mean? If we all had Jack Russells and Cocker Spaniels, would it be better? Yes.
It doesn't have to be like 100% or 0%. Maybe it could simply be, we are quite strict about licensing. Anyone can have any dog. If you're getting a Cocker Spaniel or a Jack Russell, just come in, register your dog, and you go.
And I agree with you.
But if you're going to get a pit bull,
I think that's important. It's also one of the things I hate, especially now, is like, you know our friend that makes music. Have you ever been to the parents' house where there were those massive dogs, those two massive dogs?
Our friend that makes music. Which friend?
Okay.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, yes. Our friend that makes music, the huge dog, but they don't seem. But those are like, those are like super gentle dogs.
Those dogs have the potential to be that. The Hound of the Baskervilles is that breed. The story of the Hound of the Baskervilles is that breed of dog. But you see what I mean? If they grow up in a loving, caring environment where they aren't introduced to any of those triggers, they can be docile. They'll just be these massive slobbering things, right? But that's
they can be,
but on the flip side is, if our friend were to take those dogs for a walk and those dogs saw a squirrel or they saw something and they were like, yo, we're attacking, there's nothing she could do to stop them. And that's,
you know what? Honestly, Phil, I think we've come to the solution here. This is actually the solution. We just have to be a bit strict. If we enforce, you must have a license to own a dog. Or I think currently what it is if you own more than one dog over a certain size or I need to look into it. But let's just say you must have a license to own a dog. For most dog breeds, it's very simple. You just come in, register your dog, you go. But for certain breeds, the ones that seem to have had a high propensity for violence and aggression, those you need to prove that you have the capacity and facilities. We need to come and inspect your home to make sure that it can actually be safely locked away from the public and that you have demonstrated you have an ability to train it and to control it. In such a case, here's your license. Thank you very much. Of course, that's not a perfect solution because then it's dependent on the judgment of the person who's doing the dog licensing, whatever. I completely understand it. But, you know.
And also, sadly, that will work in a Nordic country. That will not work in Zimbabwe because
yeah.
The inspector will be like, because I'm done with it.
Okay, Phil, we gotta wrap it up. I have a signal has been given to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, look, that's our welcome back show. Two quick things to mention. I watched that show that you were talking about, the one with SZA and Kiki Palmer. What's it called?
Oh, you mean the movie?
Yeah, the movie. Sorry, not the show.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun. It's a bad movie.
Yeah,
but it was fun.
It was bad. Oh, do you know what a good movie I just watched? I need to watch it again. I actually want to watch it with the patrons. Sinners. Oh my gosh.
It's just come on HD. It's come on streaming. It's just come on streaming. So
Yo, Sinners is incredible.
I look forward to. I'll probably watch it with the missus. She loves that kind of stuff.
No, man, that movie is incredible. I'll watch that again. I'll watch it again. That's a classic. Then what else have I haven't watched much. I've just been watching. I've been in a bit of a depressive episode, so I've been watching some old school comedies. So I've been watching really bad movies, and then bad reviews of those movies, and then I've been watching Tropic Thunder. I think I'll finish Tropic Thunder today.
Tropic Thunder?
Yeah, it just turned 15.
Thunder in Paradise.
Yeah.
With Hulk Hogan.
No. Tropic Thunder, the one with Ben Stiller and Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, with blackface Robert Downey Jr. Okay, yeah.
And then, on the music front, I think if you would allow me, we've got a Point Blank song dropping tomorrow. I don't know if you saw the email there, Dan, but we've got
I saw the notification.
A new EP from Jordan Moosey dropping tomorrow, and a lead single called "No Time." It is an absolute banger. Getting some great reviews on that, and I will make sure that Spotify does not take down the episode.
All right, so we'll end the show with that.
Yeah.
All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of your favorite podcast. We are back. Apologies for the time we've been away. Please use this time and opportunity to go to twobroketwimbos.com/donate. Even if you don't press on anything today, just to see what's there, what's potentially there for you. A very simple way that you can support the podcast is by becoming a Patreon subscriber. That allows you to join the Patreon group where, despite the podcast drought, we continued to interact with each other and have great times on there. Huge shout out to some of the listeners that I've come across over the past couple of weeks here and there and everywhere. You are much appreciated. But if you really want to show your appreciation for the podcast, twobroketwimbos.com/donate. Only $5 per month, guys. $5 is the minimum. You can obviously do more if you can. We'd appreciate it. But $5 per month helps keep this podcast going and fund future trips. I'm kidding. It's never enough for that. But who knows? If we increase the percentage of our listeners, maybe one day.
Dan, sorry, I just realized something. Sorry to break up our thing. What happens to the white refugees from South Africa now that these guys are beefing?
I was thinking the same thing. I'm very keen to see what happens next.
Imagine MPs and Bianca pitch up there and they get turned back. And like, this life,
Okay, boys and girls, we're going to end this podcast now. We'll catch you in the next one. We're going to end it with that new Jordan Moosey. We out.
Swimming upstream, ain't life a dream. Don't tell me you love me, baby, show me you mean it. Proof is in the pudding, not the screens. Work it, baby, show me what you mean. Work it, baby, how you take it, baby. I'll be rocking, baby, feel it rocking lately. Don't you feel it when my strings don't you flame me? But rock the boat when we're coasting, good when we smooth sailing. Live it like we got no lives, waste no time, no time. When I'm out till sunrise, it's our time. No time, baby, waste no time, no time. Say our time, baby, it's our time, our time. No time, baby, waste no time, no time. Yeah, our time, baby, it's our time, our time. Gon' give it to me, gon' give it to me, gon' give it to me, baby, gon' give it to me, 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 gon' give it to me. I've been looking for someone, a little je ne sais quoi, cause I was missing the spot. Just out a little room to ready up, cause I'm ready to go. Don't need a broom like witches, cause we be fly on our own. Tell me how to some love, survival. Let's get down, baby. Take it down low, take it down low. I scratch your back, you scratch my nose. Easy birthdays, we no ordinary people. It's a lot of love with the right amount of ego. Ain't no way we can't go. You feel better, baby, show me, show me. Fuck it, baby, how you take it, baby. I'll gon' give it to me, gon' give it to me, baby, gon' give it to me, 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 gon' give it to me.